I can speak?
Yep.
He can hear me?
Yeah, but he can't talk back to you.
Oh shit, well, I can unmute him. Oh, now Rabbi Resnick's here. Never mind. Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't know who it is.
He was in yeshiva. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off.
he went away, so therefore this is over there, that's over there. Good now of Shabbos, everyone. We started to talk last time about that there's ways of living a life with betochen and without betochen. And it depends how you intertwine the two into one's life. And they're both in a way kosher. Haba osik Rav Shimon ben Yochai v'lo Yosef biyodam. Haba osik Rav Yishmael also biyodam. Like, what's really the difference between the two? Rav Shimon ben Yochai was, pshat is, I don't have to make lunch. Lunch, I sit down, lunch will appear. I have a lunch appear, b'dachat. I mean, obviously, the mention doesn't make those type of nisim in the way, but you have pekipshutai. You have Eliyahu, but he was in the cave. So who brought him? The Ayrel brought him food. Whose food they bring him? They brought him Avadya's food. In other words, Avadya shachted. So there was food, the neighbor, and the birds brought it to him, the birds brought it to him. So there's always food in the world. And there's always shluchim. Whether it's a wind or something like that could blow something into the house, whatever it is, it's also the same possibility. Doesn't have to be that it's impossible, I'm saying. But the fact that I can rely on it daily, that was a shvach zach. Because everything a person has to exhibit. What I mean, we also spoke about a point for last week, was that you don't brag until you can produce somebody. You know, with the fact the potential has nothing to do with you. It has to do with you produce to someone. So here, to show it, we didn't go into it because we weren't up to it. When did it actually tell you the names of Moshe and Aaron? It was when they became Mashiach Hashem. Not just that they reached the Madrega of Mashiach Hashem, but they became the Mashiach Hashem. They actually accepted the job, the thing like this. And I think the reason for that is that a person, he's taught a way of living, right? But the second thing that he has to be taught is he has to be taught to see the signs of life, what he can rely on. Certain things you have to work for. Certain things you don't have to work for. So the question is, you have to see it. The person doesn't see it. I mean, you can say, well, you know, I guess every person, what you call, even when they see it differently. You know, this appears this way, that way. The story of the Alshir, I think the story is with. We had this Talmud, not a Talmud, he was a Rav in a shul in Tzvas. And he gave a speech about the fact that you don't have to do really shtadlus, even for food. And a guy in Amoritz that was sitting there came home and he decided he's not going to work anymore. They also said you don't have to work anymore. And he refused to work. And the family's obviously status went down, and there's nothing in the house. They had to sell everything away. And he finally sells the horse and the wagon. And the same thing, I'm not working. You don't have to work. And he tell it to the Goyish neighbor, and the Goyish neighbor goes out to he made his parnasa for digging in the mountains, and he went out to dig. He found the treasure. He loaded it onto the wagon, and he has a heart attack and drops dead. And then the animal, not knowing what to do, goes back to the house that he always knew was his, was the Yid. So now the Yid has the treasure. And the Talmidim asked the Alshuch, how come this guy, he only heard this one speech? And from this one speech, he got to that madrege. And we believe all the time to this. And he tied that it's not the same type of belief. Now this guy was willing to meisanefish for it. In other words, there is no, I don't have to work, means I don't have to work. I am dying right now. I guess you do have to work? No, I don't have to work. And he refused to work. So Melech gave it to him. We don't reach that madrege. So is there such a concept that a person could be semech on betochen alone? So we all know the Maisa Israel that that the Yisrael wanted that. What did he say? He said, if you hope for a gold watch, you'll get a gold watch. And we all know the Rosh Yeshiva didn't hold of it. So what was the Rosh Yeshiva's time? Like, the gold watch is not just pshat, you get a gold watch. Gold watch is a reward. You have to do something good for a reward first before you can get the gold watch. I did what I had to do to earn the gold watch. Then maybe if you have the betoch, you'll get the gold watch. I kind of always at that time that maybe you can say that betochen alone has a reward. Now that may be the gold watch is the reward to betochen, because I incorporated that the part of the kochen is the third chelik of Shabbos. That pshat is that the Rebbeinu Shalom Hashgacha Pratis and all these things that applies is that exception of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is something that gives us a keach. In other words, when we believe the Benjamin created the world in 6 days, so what does it mean? You created the world in 6 days, so he created the world in 6 days, right? Does he still have other powers? Does he have what he called? So we believe that he may have other powers. Al Chas Chalil is said with the to be mekatzer keach Hashem, but that means I have no idea. But he himself was mekatzer himself that I'm not going to be noyig in this world except what I created in the 6 days. So therefore, everything has to be in Mother Nature before you to be able to run the world. Yet at the same point, he said that he's not the katza dava for himself. Hayar Hashem Tishka, what do you call it? Whatever. There's all these things that it's not shaykh that anything is missing, that he has no control over. That doesn't exist. He has total control of everything in the what he created. There are things that there is nothing. The Rebbeinu left no possibility in the world. So we start thinking, what does that mean? The truth is, I really don't know. That's the thing goes there. But being in the hospital, I learned a little bit lately. There are certain things that actually are being discovered still al hayim. Protective things that destroy. And what do you call it? And because these things are constantly, we don't know what still exists in the world. We have no idea what still exists in the world over there. And I think there was something they were talking about. I'm sorry, I don't remember. The thing there, that's something that prevents something from happening, something that's being created right now, like COVID or something like that. That came back too. The thing there is also creating certain things that stop other things from working. So you see that the Rebbeinu Shalom still makes things still work. And we see that in energy. You see that in anything else that any Rebbeinu has made. Originally, even the Second World War, when Russia and Germany divided Poland, Germany took the coal, Russia got the oil. Now, if you were doing that in B'zman Hazeh, you would have said, we'll take the oil, not the coal. And now you would even say, who's going to take the oil? That also takes up too much land. Who needs oil, right? We have to get hydrogen, whatever it is there, or reproductive energy. Well, I'm always looking for that. What is it that keeps everything working? So in other words, we're not interested anymore in these things. In New York State, we're New York City. It's to us. You build a new house. This is already going back many years. You couldn't put in a gas oven. You had to build at least an electric oven. Now you can't even put in an electric oven. You have to put in a magnetic oven. You know the difference. What's the difference between the three differences? Well, one, you can put your hand on the fire. There's no fire. Okay, that's true. But it cooks. How does it cook? How do I know? Is it Musar Shabbos, Osar Shabbos? How do I know? I mean, that's your job to find out. But I'm just saying that there's so many different things. What we didn't know about magnetic fire before, maybe not. Maybe yeah. But always existed. It wasn't just a new creation that was now created. It's something that always existed. We didn't apply it. We didn't know how to apply it. Whatever it is. Okay, so it comes that the first thing the Bensham told him was that it kind of to Moshe was that to the others I appeared to them with a Kel Shakai, and they didn't complain. Kel Shakai is not really a thing of creation. Kel Shakai is telling you something will exist for a certain period of time. Now, I don't know how exactly what he's talking about in the Shel Shakai. I mean, he told them that there's going to be an end of the Canaanim, and therefore that at that time we take over, whatever it is that I can't answer you. But we ourselves live through it. I think everybody here is old enough to have lived through it. I don't remember what years they were, but when communism fell in Russia, right, it was under Gorbachev. Under, what's his name, Nikolai, with the N, not Gorbachev, with an N, under him. Khrushchev, I'm sorry. So under Khrushchev, he was saying to Kennedy, our grandchildren will beat your grandchildren. It's 1960. Or 1963. I don't remember when was the Cuban crisis, what year that was. But that was Cuba was getting rockets from Russia in order to attack the United States. And Kennedy threatened it, and they got rid of him. Okay, so there was the thing there, but it was the battle, that was the battle for between communism and capitalism at that moment. So he was threatening at that time, which was the 60 or 63, was threatening that what will be that our grandchildren will get your grandchildren yet. In other words, communism still has not yet gotten to this madrega that were fully complete. Then all of a sudden, the first one, and it seems that obviously you see in the Mesilas Nefesh, Gorbachev was the first premier of Russia that was born after the revolution, after 1917. To say manafkimina to that. And as Israel also, the first prime minister was born after the kibbutzim. That's when all of a sudden you have a difference over the kefirah being much less. In other words, the guys who were dedicated to the revolution were much stouter people than the ones who, that's the way of life. It's not a dedication that we have. So Gorbachev happened to be in Maine. He went into a supermarket and he took a look around And he saw so many different choices. And he says, we consider ourselves the Hechster Madrege of Gashmias, that they're Shaykh. How come they have more than us? Now you'll say, who says they have more than us? Now obviously this you can say this is a method of business. For instance, a ShopRite. You go into a ShopRite. You have a choice of 20 choices of companies, let's say, right? So how many ShopRites do we have left in the country? Only ShopRite is left, and half of them is closed already, right? So you don't really have much of ShopRite. On the other hand, there's 2 German companies coming in, Ilwa, whatever it is there, and they come in with something similar to Trader Joe's. I'm not the guy doing the business here. I heard the speech. Okay, that they come in and that they're going to sell only certain products. But what we got is good, but we don't sell other people's other things, and that's also a way of doing it. So the fact to say you can make more money selling a few products or selling many products, that's a business deal. You can make that decision yourself. But the idea that Gorbachev saw a rafchus, that's what he saw. Nothing was a tzimtzum. Everything was a rafchus. So when he came back, he wanted to initiate certain types of capitalism in Russia, which basically China done and other communist countries like China. You have a lot of Chinese traveling the world. How are they traveling the world? Chinese are not rich, right? But they have a certain amount of capitalism that's permitted there that gives them a right that they can become rich certain ways. That's what he wanted to create. So they made a declaration that so the Politburo revolted, and he's not doing right. So he asked communism. So they made a physical revolution, and then the army marched on Moscow. And what was his name again? The mayor of Moscow that came out there and said, "Over my dead body," and nobody went. And all the soldiers jumped out of the tanks, and everybody else said, "We're free, no more communism." In one day, communism died. How did that happen? Right? They're not communists now. Well, what do you mean? They're just as Russian, bad as they used to be? That has nothing to do with communism. Other shiitas got involved in their method. But the idea is that communism is dead. We saw it. We saw it happen in a day. Not so sure. You saw it with Poland. We saw it when the whole the Warsaw Pact fell apart, with the thing over beer, over vodka, over the price of vodka. How does that happen? A whole sheet that can fall on the price of vodka, because that's a Derech Hashem. It's going to go till here, and then it's going to stop. It's going to stop. It's going to say, "Die! It's enough. No more." And we can't imagine that normally, but we saw it. That's the point I'm saying. We saw it, so how can you deny it? How many times do you have to see it before you're going to believe it? Same thing goes with life. Everybody is going to have to make his own, it's going to have nisyonis. Why does a person need nisyonis for? I think that the person, that came here, Moshe also had nisyonis. Because he gave him one tzivu, and somehow that didn't work, and he had to switch it to a different tzivu. The pshat is, you want to see how God works? Okay. I'm going to show you. I can make certain things happen where all of a sudden you see the Yeshua Hashem computer. And if you saw it, why are you complaining the second time? You saw what the Rebbeinu Shem can do, so why are you complaining? All of us, you need to keep reminding, right? That does, the Rebbeinu Shem don't work that way. He gives each person his keiches, and obviously if a person wants to keep growing, he wants to be growing in different ways, he doesn't want to go through the same Nisoyin for the rest of his life. And of course, that's very possible. A lot of times, I remember when I was early married, I need $10 a week for certain things for Shabbos. And until you got used to that happening, then the times happened, and then you'll need $100, and then $1,000, and then who knows what. So each time you don't know if you can make it. But $10 I can make. How do I have 100? 100 I can't make. What did you do for the 10? You didn't do nothing for the 10 either. So why can't you make 100? Elavos, I don't let it register. It doesn't come in. My fear, whatever you want to call it. So basically, a person really makes his own problems with these things. But in reality, once you saw the Yad Hashem, why you have problems? Why do you have worries? You saw it. You were dead in business. Business was going to fall apart, and all of a sudden you had Yeshua Hashem, whatever it is there, and that is. How did that happen? I don't know how it happened. But the Beis made it happen. You saw it yourself. You said, "Oh boy, Baruch Hashem." So you said it. So you know what happened. So why are you afraid now? So I guess that a person obviously makes his own things, but he has to go through at least once to see to have that bittul, to be able to believe in it. If he doesn't even see it once, he won't believe it. Now, Rabbi Shimon Mechoy obviously had a different type of life. He's not brought as the biggest of the Talmidim. Rabbi Meir was the biggest of the Talmidim. I don't even know if he was the second biggest of the 5 Talmidim. But Lamaisa, whatever biggest means, and Frumkeit or Hashkofa are 2 different inyanim. One is a mind keches, and one is one inyan of how you rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now his Derech HaChaim caused him to rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu much more maybe than Rabbi Meir or others, because of the threat, the different situations he put himself into. By Rabbi Yehuda praised the Romans, he criticized whatever it was, so he put himself his own in the matzah, but he saw how God saved him. And he saved him, but he saved him for a long time. So it's a long, different things, different lives. That's how you become different people. Now, so one could be much greater than somebody else, one could be much better than somebody else. Okay. So here also, you had to have that in the story of Moshe Rabbeinu himself, where they themselves will make Kabbalah of themselves to be Mashiach Hashem. And then the Rebbeinu Shalom sends them to go to Nisim before Pari. So he tells Aaron that he should throw his stick, and his stick will become a sanin. Now, we have to watch the words. I don't know the translation of sanin really. I assume the word sanin means reptile. I do not know. Nochash we know means snake. Now again, are you sure? I have no idea. What is a snake? I also don't know what it is. What do you mean you don't know what a snake is? That's the thing that crawls over there. Yeah, but this one can bite and give you poison. This one can spit poison in your face. This one is a harmless animal. So they're the same nochash? They're not the same nochash. They're the same there. So what makes a nochash? I'm not getting involved which ones God created, B'etzim, as worms, like crawling animals, and which ones he made them that actually became that was the nochash harishain, and which became, I can't answer you. I don't know what they are. But a sanin, we see there was a matter that he made into a nochash. That was in Parshas Shmois, where he had to show the three nisim to Bnei Yisrael. So he threw it on the ground. It became a nochash. And here, when he came to power, it became a sanin. And what's the difference? As I say, I don't know. If they hold a nochash is a snake, and then Sanin is a reptile, meaning an alligator. So I can understand the differences between why one or the other. But is there a difference in the sticks? That's the part that we have to understand. So you see the Rebbeinu is makbid on him when he tells him to go with dam, to do the maked dam. He says, take with you the stick that you turned into a nochash. Not talking about Aaron's stick. We're talking about your stick. Your stick was a nochash. Aaron's stick became a sanin. There are two different sticks. And what the differences is, I have no idea. One of them, I assume, Moshe's, I assume, came from Gan Eden. Supposedly, it had the simonim on it already, whatever it is there, and it was made out of sapphire and stuff like that. So it was stones, a piece of stick, whatever that means. Okay, so I can't answer you. So the Rebbeinu is going to try to show that, the question is, he's coming to Parai. He wants Parai, does he have to do this? The Rebbeinu don't have to do this. If he wanted to, all he had to do was say, Yidden, all fly up, slide out the soil, run there, and he kills the, where he sends him Agay a week before, everybody's dead, and there's nobody to defend out the soil, you land up in out the soil, we just take over the country. That's what could have happened. Why he didn't do it, that I have no idea. That's his business. But I guess the reason is because he wants you to see the confidence of Kadosh Baruch Hu. If that would have happened, would you have had such a Hagosha? I don't know. In other words, you'll say, well, wasn't that more poshut? You see, the whole country died and you came in and took over. Yeah, there was a Magay for there. So it became a country without a people for a people without a country. It became the what do you call it, the Zionistic, what do you call, motto. That's all it became. It has nothing to do with this. It's just, that was exactly the Zionist motto about the soil. The world forgets history. That's the Torah. What do I mean the world forgets history? I was only a kid, really, at the time of the war. But we talked about the war. Kids talked about the war. And I think that we all knew there was a war going on. It was always also, you always had, the wardens come out, you had the fire, the blackouts and stuff like that. So you all knew things like that, the sirens, and that came off every so often. So everybody knew we were in a war. Right? Yet, when it came to, what was the place of Eretz Yisrael? A country without a people, a land with, no, not a country, a land without a people for a people without a land. What do you mean there's no people? The Arabs live there, the Turks own it. Oh no. That whole section, Eretz Yisrael, does not grow for Goyim. It only grows now. When I came to Eretz Yisrael the first time in 1974, at that time, it was able to produce for 30 million, according to my brother-in-law, when the white paper was written, it was 36, I think it was 38, I think was the white paper was 38. They only let in 7,500 Jews in Eretz Yisrael a year. Because why? It cannot produce for that many people. Eretz Yisrael can't produce. Now Eretz Yisrael is an exporter of stuff and stuff like that. Why? Where do you grow things? Underground, top of the ground. Where right now a lot of stuff is going in caves. You have and different layers. Why? Who tells you can only have one layer of tefillah? Maybe you have 100 layers of tefillah every 10 feet, every 5 feet. That's how they grow now. This thing over there. You'll know There was a time, the bug crisis. Okay, the ones that were still around in our times, maybe remember when the bug crisis was discovered here. And we rediscovered it, by the way. This whole tumor with the bugs that came from here. And it came from an article in the Advance. You get your protein together with your vegetables. That was the lead of the thing there. And was talking about the fact that once they stopped DDT, you got the worms, you got the bugs, you got everything in the cans. And they told you what you used to find. The shadow was what to do about it, and whatever was there. There's nothing to guide you. What I want to say though about the bugs. Yeah.
Christ Israel. In Eretz Israel,
I didn't hear.
what they did in Eretz Israel about the bugs.
Oh, yeah, so you couldn't, Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts, Beniman was our scientist, from Beniman. He had a bunch of books. We bought different products, took them apart, took the leaves, counted every bug there was in the thing there, and the best was bird's eye. Okay, the best was bird's eye, and that was the triangle K. If you guys want to know the things over there, and they knew the problem. OU, everybody else, nobody knew there was a problem with bugs in New York. They knew there was a problem, but they washed their products with let's see, what's that for? Those teeth the gas with chlorine. That they washed everything with chlorine, so it usually washed out all the poison, all the bugs, stuff like that. So the question was, what happened? It didn't wash out all of them, so Shlich never got the answer to those shaytas, so I don't know. We had them yet, but these were shaytas that we had. You did the ma'aser, we definitely know we made it less, but we don't know if we made it completely gone. That's the question. Okay, no, the shaytas that we left 8 shaytas, so she never answered anything. But Brussels sprouts, they're little cabbages, whatever you want to call them. So it's very hard to pick up the leaves to check them. If you bought Brussels sprouts, guys because you ate the whole Brussels sprouts at one time. It's not that something that you take off the leaf and you eat it. You take the thing, you put it in your mouth and you eat it. So with certain degrees and stuff like that. All of these things have to be done for the kasha, simply for us to eat and stuff like that. But Israel is one of the ones who do most of the experiments on this, and they're able to produce it. So all of a sudden, the thing the guy saw very.
Recording in progress.
My daughter showed me a video clip of something. Says there, why there's so much anti-Semitism now? He says as long as you talk about natural this and that, it doesn't seem to bother anybody. But all of a sudden they ask you how come a little country like that with so few people are the top in tech, top in medicine, the top in agriculture, top in everything in the whole world. Israel was the top in the fourth subject. How is that? Now you're coming into Messianic things. Oh, no, we hate the Jews. All of a sudden, to believe it as normal? No, I was you want to be Messianic? Okay, that can't be. Whatever it is, but that's emes. You see, why? That's the pasuk in Kisaveh. It's not negated us. It's over, man. But you want to do tshuva, I'll take you back and give you bracha. And the thing goes from there. Now you got to do tshuva. That way, but for one thing, you also get schar. Okay. Anyway, so You're coming to Mitzrayim, which happens to be magic country. I don't know what magic is. Obviously, we said everything was created in the 6 days. Was magic also created in the 6 days? Obviously. Okay, what's magic? So Rashi tells us, below tehem and below hotehem. Below hotehem, that's magic. Below tehem is Ma'asik Shofim. I assume that Ma'asik Shofim means that they're able to bring it. In other words, the thing exists, but it's not here. But we can have the Shofim bring it. While magic is something that will actually appear as something that's not there and is now there. So the only thing that we find that they did below hotehem is the tzaninim. Everything else says below tehem. So I don't know exactly what the differences are and whatever it is there, but obviously a sanin they could have done below hotehem. They could have made magic. So what does it mean? It wasn't really a sanin. It just looked like a sanin. It would appear in appearance certain things look like things. I don't know. Because in the end, what happened was Aaron's stick swallowed the saninim. That is, wasn't that Aaron's sanin swallowed the saninim of everybody else. Sorry, his version is here. Vayashlichu ish es mateh vayilu saninim vayivle mata Aaron es matehem. Not the stick swallowed the sticks. Not the matter, that was just a period of time that goes there for looks like a day, a week, a month. I have no idea. They don't know. Okay. Now the Bnei is going to get serious with Mitzrayim. Okay. Like in other words, to you, you're not impressed about God. There are two methods maybe. There's a godly method, there's a magic method. You guys got the magic method. It's not real. The godly method is real. So therefore you should be scared a little bit. Nah, that doesn't impress us. It's just another bigger magic that you got over us. We didn't learn your magic yet. That's all. Okay, so we'll go for these things. So what's according to the Makis? Not all the Makis were very severe. I mean, they're all annoying, that's for sure. But there was a severe, was something that, would break your rotzen. So dam for sure wouldn't. Means we have to drink bottled water for a month, right? We're going to have to drink apple juice instead of water. So no big deal. How do I know it's lasting a month? Maybe it's going to last 10 years. You're right, I don't know. We'll find out. But meanwhile, you haven't broken me yet. Okay. What's the point of the Maki then? So the Maki is, you guys believe the knowledge of God, right? So if the knowledge of God, it should be protecting you, right? I'm going to make your gods punish you. What's those things? The Makeh and Tzvadeya. Adam Melech and Tzvadeya. So Dam is the simpler one. In other words, what is the purpose of water? I got that problem. Now you have to watch this. You can't drink this. You can't drink this. Whatever. You need hydration, and you can't drink too much. Right? So you got beide Sachen. How do you live with both? But that's what the whole point of water is for. You need hydration. Without water, you can't live. And the thing over there, so we need waters. And the Nile produces own water, so it's terrific. We'll have no problem. What happens? You can't get water from the Nile. All of a sudden, we got a problem. Okay? And they were still able to get water from around the Nile. In other words, he didn't make it except what the water that was in the Nile became Udam. But what about the waters that seep into the Yarden? I mean, into the Nilus? That could never became Udam. It's only when it comes out becomes blood. So they were able to still drink. They drank water from around the river. So that was those things. Because that's how a river is. You usually, after rain, you can have an inch rain, and you have a 3-foot flood. How did that happen? It's only an inch rain. Now you have a 3-foot flood. An inch was all over. right? But to get the 3 feet here, what happens to that inch? Where did it go? So all of it gets absorbed and it's pushed towards the river, towards the water. Now the water's going to have 3 feet of more water because of that 1 inch of rain. Yep. Okay, so you had the dam, so that was the thing. So now it didn't give us water. It didn't hurt us necessarily, but it didn't give us water. He then made him hurt him, and then gave him by the Tzvadeya. Now the Tzvadeya, you'll ask me what was so bad about the Tzvadeya. Probably if I was 6 years old, I'll tell you probably I had a lot of fun. That's about all I can tell you, you know. But I assume that was very annoying. That was b'sharisecho, b'mitcho, b'tanurecho. In other words, you couldn't eat. Whatever you're doing, you're going to have frogs in there. How do they pronounce that in French again? Frog's legs. Whatever it is. Anyway, that's it. By them, it's one of the big, what do you call it, that and snails. 2 of the biggest Vorspeises you have in France. Over there. So that used to be one Lashon. So I knew the French were brave. They were able to eat faux proud. No, I think that's the fat. That's chicken livers, I think, or duck livers. Whatever it is, they're able to eat the snails. You know, those things, what Meshuggah is going to eat that, they even try it, so they must be brave. Okay, so we're brave, okay. Obviously, giving you, but you got to think about it. If frogs is food, so what was the big punishment of it? So we had an overextent of frog's legs for a month. No big deal. You had the alba, right? The alba is also a food, right? There's even 4 kosher minimum of alba, right? So it's a food. So how come we were so worried about it eating up all the food? Yeah, but all you got is alba. That's all you got. And I guess I don't know how much you get from one alba, and who's going to eat it? Next question. Okay. So it seems that the tzvalde, so the dam didn't seem to impress him too much, at least the pari. Now, as to the normal people, they made a complaint, no water, right? So, but pari's job is to figure out water. Okay, you can't figure out water, so the question is, do we give in to Moshe or we don't give in to Moshe? Okay, I'm not giving them yet. It's not a thing there. Less than a month, we were able to go through it, didn't even listen to them. The people suffered. Their emunah and betochen in the Nile died to a certain extent. They suffered. But it wasn't enough to punish Pari. The other hand, the Tzvadeya was enough to punish Pari. And he said, "This Rachka Movis Hazeh." He calls it even a terrible thing now. Exactly what is, I don't know. As I said, the kids would have had a great time. But maybe for grown-ups, it's pretty annoying. You sit down and eat, and all of a sudden your supper's on the roof, it's on the ceiling. I don't know where it is. It just jumped up. I mean, whatever it is there. So you don't know what you got. Well, here, gerade, we learn from Mesilas Nefesh is learned from the Tzvadeya. Because of Sanurecho. Because some of them went into the ovens. Why did they go into the ovens for? You had a choice, go into the ovens or go into the Amecha, Misharisecha, whatever it is, Bechor, Amecha, whatever it is there. Why do you got to go into Tanurecha? Somebody has to go. There has to be in a certain amount of Mesilas Nefesh. You're learning there's a certain amount that someone has to go. Okay, but anyway, that was what it was, and that made him very crazy. And for that he comes to them and he says, get rid of it. So now Moshe Rabbeinu, we're going to taste, and he does bring, we see that the Makis, besides the fact that was a punishment to Mitzrayim, it was also a way of teaching them the way of God, the way of Adarach Hashem. That he taught them that Ki Ein Kashem Elkeinu. There's no one as big as us, as our God. Meaning that our God has a bigger control over living things than anything else that has out there. So Ein Kashem Elkeinu. It's not saying that that we're the biggest or whatever it is. Just first thought that no one can Kashem Elkeinu. No one as big as us. And we have the most power. And he keeps going with that, with Orev and this, and even with Kinim and stuff like that, he goes with that. Because Kinim has a very strange thing. It existed in Goshen. All the Makis did not exist in Goshen, except probably Kinim. And wonder, how do you know that the Kinim existed? Because Parag and Yaakov Avinu didn't want to be buried in the Mitzrayim because the land's going to become Kinim, right? So be buried in Goshen. Who's going to bury you in Mitzrayim anyway, right? Because Goshen is also going to become. So you got to say that there's lessons we have to learn for ourselves also from the Makis. It's not only the Mitzrayim have to learn the lessons, we have to learn it. Baruch Hashem, the Benchim did it to the Mitzrayim, so we can learn it on their cheshbon. But Lamaisa, we have to learn the lesson. That what do you call it? By Orev, we're going to have a different lesson. So here was this, okay. And he gives him Pari the ability to how long he wants to keep it. And Pari, I guess, being a stubborn character, made it stay even a day later. The Mocha. Now, they're bugging you now. The frogs are killing you now. Whatever they're bothering you, right? You want to get rid of them now, right? So he said, but tell me when you want it done, right? He says, tomorrow. So why do you want to stop for another day for? Well, right? Because he understood God already to a certain extent. You want it now? Well, no problem. God can get rid of it. Well, make money. This thing, I'd rather suffer to see if you're real or not. That's what he does. So power is being tested along the way also in all of these markets. Okay. Then comes the kingdom, and this is where I hold that the freedom starts. Because the Ikazach, we have the Arbor cases who come only because of this Parshas of Avol Shani's Gula. We have Eliyahu's case, which is the fifth, the Hevesi. So there's 5 Lashonis of Gula. So again, we live through it. Again, you have to have been at least from the 90s. Then you can go back and look at your life, you can see that we lived through our Borg, what do you call it, legacy of Gula. What are they? So, Rashi says, let's see the psukim, then we'll go back to the beginning. We started before, I didn't do it. Before the Tzvadeya. Right. That's how the Dabel Parallel. And he actually, her basis is, Vaitzeise Sivaisa Sami again, too bad. The Etzker is Brissi. Yeah. לכן אמר לבני ישראל, אני השם, והצאתי אתכם מתחת סבלוס מצרים. So what was the first madrega of freedom? Like this you learn 4 synonyms, like 5 synonyms. If you have 10 synonyms, I got to take 10 classes or 1. I mean, you guys are used to drinking 4.5 ounces, 4.5% of wine. We which were 4.5 proof, maybe. We had 13. So we were drunk by the end of the Seder, especially you had Chumash Shiur. Yeah, you guys are big deal. What was a big deal here? Okay, so I'm telling you, so he says, so obviously it means madregas in freedom. What are madregas? The first one is avodas perach. No more torture. Then the tzalti eschem avodosom. I'll save you from their work, so you'll be completely free. That's step 2. So now we have 2 madregas already. We go out the eschem and I'll redeem you, b'zroim netiri shvatim gedolim, and that you're going to be there. I'm going to see you're going to be equal to everybody else. Are we? I remember being equal to everybody else. And I remember both. You know, I was in Washington one time in my life. I think so. I don't think I was in Baltimore. I went to Yeshiva, Washington. Yeah. Okay, maybe I was there 2 times, 3 times. But so the thing there was once, so it was bar mitzvah, 1950. So the first thing I did, we got kicked out of the Capitol. How do you get kicked out of the Capitol? You're a citizen of the United States, right? Only for Christians, not for Jews. What happened? We came into the Capitol, 2 little kids, another guy, and we came there, and we go to the tour. They take you to representative sides and make ansatoshes there, and we're wearing our yarmulke, no problem. You got to go from the representative side to the Senate side. You got to pass through the front of the building, and there stands a cop. He stands over there and he says, "Get that hat off your head." Hat? I'm not wearing a hat. What's the difference between a hat and a yarmulke? Or a hat? I'm not wearing a hat. So I keep walking. Get that beanie off your head. Then we knew we were talking to us, and he kicked us out. Told us it's part of the religion. Get out of this building. Right now, you can walk into the Supreme Court with the yarmulke on. You still cannot walk into the Congress or into the Senate with the yarmulke on. Even if you're a senator. I was with the Arab, what they got the debate. I don't know if they ever gave her the shus or not, but whatever it is. If she got rishus, then next time we'll get rishus. Who got rishus for people to wear yarmulkes in the Senate? I mean, in the Supreme Court? Not the Punjabs. That's where Harav comes in, because they were a country. They were not just a religion. They come from a certain place, and they can't come to America. Why? Because we can leap them out of this thing there. So we have to make it possible for them to join the police force, doing this. So now you don't have to shave. You can be a Hasidic guy, be some policeman. You can be all this, which is quite common now, by the way. And the thing over there, so you go there, you go to these things where they have for Yontif, you'll see all the former cops all around them. With the payas and everything, and the line the belt, and the gun on the side. These are the thing. This is why, because there's goyim like that. Before then, you want to come into the thing without the yarmulke on top of your head. That's not respectful. Okay, so therefore you have to uncover it. But why? It's America. Not America is a Christian country. America is not a non-Christian country. Okay, so that's the thing. So then the fourth one was when they finally made us that you're a Shabbos observer, you get your tests on Sunday, Monday, whatever it is. When I was a kid, but what do you mean? Talk about the 80s. I remember not the 80s or maybe 1990s even. You had to take, you want to work for the government, you had to take a test on Shabbos. And you want to work for, now you're a Shabbos observer, you can postpone the test. Take it on a different day. Before that wasn't. So even to make those chilukim, we're both citizens. Stuff like that. You had to swear on the Bible. I don't remember to what year this was, 1826 or something. I have to do with Maryland. You know, that you had to swear on a Bible. It's a Christian Bible, not a Jewish Bible. What difference does it make? You believe also in the first? It doesn't make a difference. The Christian Bible, so. Those are the four madrigas. Okay. Okay. We'll stop here. Anyway, anyone, good Shabbos to everybody. Hopefully I'll get better. We'll back in shape again.